Welcome to KSR's YouTube channel, where we're sitting courtside at Rupp Arena, where we just watched a nice Saturday matinee where Kentucky beat up on Texas A&M 76-67. That number always reminds me of the Meadowlands. That was a score in '96. That has nothing to do with right now, but fun fact, I'm here with, we got Zach, Jack, and joining us on this one, Dr. Mike was walking by, so he's making a four-person panel. He is our Firecrackers correspondent. He took lots of notes during the halftime performance. But we're gonna start with the basketball because Kentucky got the job done. Again, fell behind a little early, trailing at halftime, but the second half they pulled away to win by 9 points. Antonio Reeves, the star of the game, is the leading scorer. Oscar had 17 rebounds, but only 7 points for Oscar. The basketball Benny lineup showed its face in the second half when things really pulled away. So we'll start there, Jack. It is looking like that is the lineup moving forward.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You talk yourself into it and say, okay, this is clearly what Cal wants. This is clearly what makes the most sense. But you kind of have to wait and see it to believe it. If Cal's actually going to bench Xavier Wheeler, and look, he finished the game with 8 minutes. I didn't think that we would actually get this far, but now that we're here, it's working, and you got to ride the hot hand. We saw Cason Wallace. He didn't have a perfect performance, 5 turnovers, inefficient shooting numbers, but everything around him worked so well. I talked to Antonio Reeves after the game, and he said you have to either guard me or CJ Frederick, one or the other between the two of us, and if I'm making shots, then that means you have to guard me, and then CJ's going to be left wide open. If CJ's making shots, then I'm left wide open. And he said just whenever that happens, it works to perfection, and you get results like this. We talked to Buzz Williams after the game, and he said that there's a very clear difference between the first 4 games of the season where it was a Xavier Wheeler-led team versus the last 3, and he said it's very clear that they're playing with a purpose. It's a different purpose of basketball, and he said the numbers are what they are. You could clearly tell what the difference is between those two. So I think we have our starting 5, and I think we have our finishing 5. I think that's what we've been
are they going to start? Because he did Livingston again.
It ain't about who starts.
There you go.
Who finishes, and I think we got our finishing 5.
Well, we do feel a little bit bad for Xavier that his minutes just completely evaporated. It's a senior year, happened mid-season, but to give him credit, he was a big teammate on the sideline during the game, before the game, and starting 5, where he's used to hearing his name introduced, clapping there. So it looked like he's handling it well, at least on the outside, and showing it and being there for his teammates, as he has taken a big hit. Spacing is why it's working so well. We saw it. There was a play, Oscar, they threw it into him, and just so quickly he turns and throws it to Reeves. Just a quick touch pass to him. Reeves hits the 3 in the corner. When you just have the shooters out there that can separate, it's clear that that's the lineup that works and that they figured out offensively. And you were saying just a minute ago, looking like they figured some things out with what Texas A&M was doing in the second half.
Yeah, and it was actually what you just said there about Oscar. That he wasn't even looking to score about the last 10 minutes. He just knew that double team was coming the second the ball was on the way to him, and he was just looking to pass. Cal even mentioned Oscar only had 1 assist, but he probably did have 8 hockey assists. Hit to the next man. So down the stretch there, Texas A&M's game plan was pretty much found out by UK. Their game plan was give open the threes and try and crash the glass, and they didn't do either of those well. Kentucky had 32 threes, the most since 2011. They only made 11 of them, but that's really all you need. If they make maybe 14, this game's probably even more blown out than it appears. But Kentucky just had their number down the end. They knew what to do. Oscar knew everything that was coming towards him, and when you have 2 shooters out there, that's really what makes it easier. Lance even said that they knew coming in that's exactly how Texas A&M was going to guard them. They were going to have all those open threes. You don't even have to really tell a guy like CJ and Reeves to just keep shooting it, even if they are kind of having some tough nights. So UK just had the number down the stretch. They knew the game plan. They executed to perfection, and having all those shooters out there really helped.
I liked Cal in the press conference. When did I shoot that many threes? When was this? And people were giving him stats. Oh, we must have lost that game.
Yeah, an interesting back and forth.
And then he ended it by saying, maybe we should be shooting more threes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kentucky is now 4-1 when they've shot over 30 threes in the Calipari tenure. So, granted, the first 4 came in 2010 and 2011.
Yeah.
But we now have a 1-game sample size that is 100% correct. So here we go, shoot threes.
Our man behind the camera, Steven, very passionate about the 3 points, not taking as many as they have since 2011. Maybe he'll bring that back. And it'll help if CJ Frederick and Cason Wallace will start making some. I mean, that lineup played so well today, and those guys even went 3 for 17. Dr. Mike, you're always busy looking through your camera, so I know it's harder for you to follow the game. You're a working man down there. But what did you see out of the team today, and are you liking this new fun lineup that the fans have been crying for?
I do. I love this lineup. I mean, I think they're turning the corner. and I think they play with a lot of heart, you know.
Well, we also had a lot of heart at halftime where you had the best seat in the house for, the best halftime show in all of sports.
Next to Red Panda, Happy Chinese New Year.
Yeah, to all who celebrate.
But I love the Firecrackers. They're always on their game. They never have a bad night. They never are off. And I've got some good pictures on the website.
It's amazing how much Rupp loves them too. No one leaves for halftime when it's Firecracker night. They do one game a year. It's usually an SEC game. Usually February. Did a little early this year, but they got Rupp rocking. Rupp was rocking the whole game. It helped that Doug Shows was here. We love to get loud when Doug's here. My man was living at the monitor. What'd you see out of Rupp today? They really brought it.
All I could hear is Doug Shows, and I'm trying not to get you sued again.
This motion.
But
we saw a lot of this.
My
today.
guy likes some camera time. He likes his face being in a camera. He likes looking at monitors. That's just his thing. He is one of one in so many different ways. He is a one-of-a-kind official. A lot of interesting calls. He got into it quite a bit with John Calipari. I thought that was kind of interesting. Cal, I think, had one question, or I think one of his statements to open his press conference. He said, I think Oscar Tshiebwe had a foul within 15 seconds of the game. You're National Player of the Year, but what do I know? So kind of a little slight jab at Doug Shows. I don't think he's a big fan of him, but the atmosphere was unbelievable. Cal went out of his way to say, look, you guys willed us to victory today. They were unbelievably loud. It wasn't just the Firecrackers. It was every big moment after every big shot, every big defensive stop. Big Blue Nation was there. They were rowdy and ruckus, and it's exactly what we need to see to close out the home schedule.
Now,
I'll defend Doug. Oh, go ahead.
My wife and son were right behind the bench, and my wife's from the 606.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was really worried she was going to get teed up. She
Does that go against Kentucky if your wife gets kicked out?
Yeah, it would have been ugly. But I would have taken some pictures.
A couple trips to the monitor he had to, because I think Texas A&M showed up to fight. Was that their football team? It felt like their football team at times. They won about as many as their football team did today.
Poor Jacob Toppin got the worst of it.
Yeah, there was some physicality with their big guys inside.
Yeah, no, I think there was one point where Oscar may have or may have not elbowed one of the gentlemen from Texas A&M right in the jaw. Granted, I felt like the guy was kind of pulling on his arm a little bit, so maybe a tick for tack type thing. But then the guy for Texas A&M just pushes Oscar out of bounds. I think we got a weird. Oscar gets a flagrant for going. I didn't know you could go back and just retroactively make calls like that, but apparently you can. And then just a regular dead ball technical for that A&M guy. Like I said, Jacob got kneed in the no spots. He also was just getting beat up all game. It felt like. Also, shout out to Jacob Toppin. I need to watch it again, but I felt like that was his best game of the season. I don't know if I wholeheartedly agree to say that.
17 points, 4 rebounds.
And the 3 assists as well. I think he was really good at just finding that extra pass. He was really smart. He took a couple of bad shots, but that's just kind of what comes with Jacob Toppin at this point. But when he's distributing, facilitating, trying to make plays, running for lobs, he had one that threw down earlier in this game. So when he's playing like that, Kentucky's really at the top of their game, even when Oscar has a 7 for 17, well, 7 and 17, say 17 rebounds like it's nothing, but 7 points for Oscar, and Jacob really made up for it.
And did we not say 3 weeks ago, that it made no sense that Jacob Toppin, a 6'10", long wingspan, 45-inch vertical individual, why is he not playing above the rim? Why is he standing 25 feet away from the basket, jacking up threes and playing that, kind of face-up game? Why are we not seeing him play above the rim, throw down lobs, kind of just attack the basket and finish at the rim? We're seeing that lately, and put 2 and 2 together, the team's looking a lot more cohesive because of it. I love the way they use him today. I love his fight and his energy on both ends. He got a little banged up, a little beat up, beat a couple times defensively to open the game, but goodness gracious, I just really love that when Jacob Toppin plays this way, I'm really high on what this Kentucky team can do down the stretch.
And he can't hit open 3, still hit a wide open 3, and if he's making that, you got to take it and make it. So Chris hit a couple of really clutch, timely threes in the first half too, so just big shots all around from the role players.
What'd you think of Lance? Because I thought, he had to play a lot in the first half because of Oscar's foul trouble, and he was kind of getting abused on defense there for a while, but I thought he contributed and held his own and kept it close.
Absolutely.
There was a fan near me that wanted Lance in at every moment of the game.
It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. It's like 2 minutes into the game, and she's yelling, "Put in Lance!" So he did have at least one big fan out there, but good stuff from him. And let's talk about the 7 seconds we got with Chris Livingston at the 4. Been wanting that. Been wanting that since November. Got a little tiny taste of it. Wet the beak just a little bit. Cal didn't sound like you liked in the press conference.
Cal said, well, he came in and said, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to play this position. I've never done it in my entire life, which is still a lie. But 7 seconds in the right direction, maybe by the end of the year he'll get up to 14, 15 seconds. That'd be great.
The Benny lineup is there. I think that's the takeaway.
It's a big picture. It's not about the individual pieces. I don't think Xavier would be that bad with the shooters around him. It's about making sure you have whatever your point guard you choose with 2 shooters, at least 2 shooters, maybe even Chris Livingston at the 4, at least Jacob Toppin at the 4. No 2 big lineups, Ugo and Oscar, Lance and Oscar. Throw that stuff in the garbage. No Chris Livingston at the 3 with those other 2 bigs. No, throw that in the garbage. Maximize shooting, maximize versatility, and we got something rolling.
We had some wild lineups today, but we're finally getting farther and farther away from them as the season moves on. Before we move on, would you like to give Antonio Reeves his flowers? Game high 23 points, hit half of his shots from the field.
A dude that has been criticized so often for not making shots in big games. He was the guy that everybody said, oh, well, okay, yeah, he can do it against North Florida, but what's he going to do against a Gonzaga or a Michigan or a Michigan State or whatever? This is a big game for him. It was a big, tough, physical game that, admittedly, that's where he struggled in the past against physicality and toughness. He battled, he fought, and he was making the big shots. Shout out to Antonio Reeves. This Kentucky team won't make any semblance of a run if Antonio Reeves isn't making shots. He was the MVP of the day. He even got his first little belt, the most impactful player belt.
Yeah.
It's been Oscars all year long, a couple appearances from Case and Walls and a couple other guys. Antonio Reeves got his first belt. It was well deserved.
I'd argue he hit the 2 biggest shots of the game as well. In the closing 2 or 3 minutes, he hit back-to-back shots where Texas A&M had scored on the previous possession. One, he just kind of went through a Texas A&M defender, banked floater where he had all his momentum going out of bounds. So just tough shots that he hasn't been making earlier in the year that are now falling.
I think it's now about time for all of us to wrap this up and go watch some NFL. A few quick hitters before we go. It looked good seeing Buzz Williams' vest. My man wears a nice vest. It's the only time we play Texas A&M this year, so we won't see him again. But I'm a Buzz fan. He looked nice today.
Love Buzz.
Buzz fan.
What else do we have? Any short stuff? I guess we had the Doug You Suck chants. Those were pretty loud. We mentioned those. Oh, the team stayed at a hotel last night. That's pretty cool. That's a first.
Again.
They did shoot around
at Rupp Arena.
First time ever.
And my wife and kid got to go. And
what was their analysis? Were they feeling the vibe?
What did Gabriel tell you?
They loved it. I mean, they were loose. I mean, the players came, interacted a little bit. They hit Coach Turner, KT, hit a half-court shot.
Ooh.
Oscar followed with a half-court shot.
Back-to-back?
Back-to-back half-quarters.
We should have known. We should have known.
It's a good time.
Well, Dr. Mike, thanks for joining us here on the KSR Rapid Reaction, which a nice couple told me they like our instant replay show, so we'll call it that too. We thank everyone for watching. Comment, subscribe, and go Cats. We're on to Vanderbilt.
Vandy.
None of us are going, right?
9 p.m.
Anybody going? We'll all be watching from home,
Tyler,
but we'll beat Vandy Tuesday night. Go Cats. You're watching the Rapid Reaction on KSR's YouTube with Drew, Zach, Jack, and Dr. Mike.